thank you, Eric. You're a treasure to your school and to your country. I did have the opportunity personally, along with some others here at the school, to attend the change of command ceremony where Eric was being elevated to command his particular group, sizable group out in Harrisburg, and just how impressive that is as military joins together to accept their new commander and really sort of honor that legacy of responsibility and discipline and honor during that. To see that, certainly in you, is a credit to your school. Thank you. I have the opportunity to introduce Kieran Mannion, a classmate of Paul Spear's, to do the honors of regaling his one of his best buddies in life, Paul Spear. Welcome, Kieran.
Here we go.
Here, okay. It's a long list of crimes. Sum it off here, but I think I just want to put in some kind of context what Paul meant to the community while he was here, and me, and even Chris, me in particular. So I got to Church Farm in 7th grade. I was 12 years old. It was not a fit for me initially. I was very, very unhappy. I didn't like the farm. I didn't like my classmates. I didn't like anything. So I think it was about that winter. I was on the bad end of a snowball fight with the entire 8th grade. You know, and how you can pick a snowball fight with 20 people, but it was before breakfast. And after breakfast, I said, during breakfast, I said, this is my last breakfast. And afterwards, when everyone went to chapel, I kind of hid out. And when the coast was clear, I headed down Route 30 as fast as I could, eastbound. And I got onto it too. And I just walked all, through the snow until I couldn't do it anymore. And I stopped at a shop and said, hey, I'm lost. I'm going to call my mom. I said, okay. So I did, and my mom picked me up, took me home. And, well, that was going to be the end of my Church Farm story. But Mom said, look, we got to go back, talk to Dr. Schreiner. And so I said, well, yeah, maybe he just wants to have the last word. And yes, that's good enough for me. So we went back, and Charlie was very jovial. And he just got into me a little bit about my math skills, because it was 1 against 20 in a snowball fight. And he said, but I actually didn't hear anything else he said, because I realized at that moment I was not going to get expelled. I was not going to get a long suspension, and I was going to be on the bus back to Sweetser College that evening. So about a week later, I ran into Jack Kissler, and I said, Jack, I got a question for you. And I knew Jack had taught at Episcopal Academy, had gone to Episcopal Academy, and for some reason, he was in this school. And I said, Jack, or I didn't say that, I said, Mr. Kissler, and of course he smiles. I said, I got to ask you a question. He said, and I said, and these were my exact words. I said, why in the world did you leave Episcopal and come to this place? And he kind of laughed. And I said, Karen, there's, the ceiling's so much higher for all of you here. And that makes it that much more rewarding for me. And of course, the words were profound. Were not profound as the delivery, because I felt like he really believed it. So I was like, well, this must be a truth. And I just, from that day on, I began thinking about ceilings and what that meant. And I kind of focused on that. I started looking around, like, okay, who's busting ceilings? And that's where I came up with this new idea of ceiling busters. And, in my own class, I didn't see too many, or even one. But I looked at some of the upperclassmen and realized, wow, some of these guys are really, maybe they're captain of the milk squad and high on honor roll, going to a good college, and they're happy, and I was not happy. So anyway, so time went on, but I kind of, was keeping inventory, and I discovered a couple of these people, and he was trying to emulate them. And along in 8th grade, Paul comes along, and it was pretty apparent very early on that he kind of put his heart into everything. He put his heart into the athletics, academia, trouble. realize it or not, he really was lifting people around him, and I think he lifted our class in a big way. And so time, keeps going, and then in upper school, I realized that, by this time I had an inventory of ceiling busters, and, Paul was definitely one, and they're very, I kind of relied on these people for inspiration. And, but also realized something else, is that the community as a whole was kind of ceiling busting. And this wasn't just a subjective opinion, I think that this was empirical. We would compete in athletics, and we would be competing against schools with twice, 3 times, 4 times the number of students. And we would be competitive, and we would win, and we would win championships. And so I was like, wow, this is we're punching above our weight. The sum, or the whole is greater than the sum of the parts here. And so I just felt like through this process, Paul and other people like him, were very instrumental in driving us that direction and kind of making the community what it was. And it's sort of like going from where I came from in that snowy morning to, by the time I'm an upperclassman, to having a big, like, hey, we're all in the same boat. No one cares where you came from, what your sect is, what your pronoun is, anything. It's just like, get in the boat, grab an oar, and let's start pulling. And, Paul was always a leader of that. And if you follow, or following your oars, you can always steer the boat, and there's a place for everybody. But anyway, so to a ceiling buster, and to those ceiling busters for coming with me. Thanks, you Ron.
I had no idea that Kieran was actually going to do that. But he did remember a lot about when I actually came to church once, so I should have figured it out early. Did you get here in January? Yeah. All right, so before we started, Eric ceded half an hour of his time to me. So we've got an hour to kill. So there's a couple of, I should explain why there's 2 tables, mostly with my immediate family and 2 of my brothers. Priscilla, when I got the call from Ned, I had a very similar response, like, oh my God, do you remember all the stuff I did? Why in the world would you ever, but it was rewarding, and in large part, and about 24 of us had the chance, that mentioned it, to talk with current students, yesterday. And it was true, some were bored, it was hot, but you could tell that, again, that brotherhood really is part of who they are, right, even when they're here. And a lot of times you don't realize until you leave what you got out of it. So, yeah, right. And so Vanessa and I, got together 17 years ago and brought together a family. And even my own son, who actually came here about 25 years ago, met with Jack Hissler, because we were thinking about whether Jeffrey would come here or not. My whole life, and for all of the people, from our family, they hear stories about church farm school all the time, about Chris Garrett's life. Yeah, they also hear the bad stories. So the grandkids are here because they want to see where Papa wasn't a good boy. And you can kind of go anywhere. But it's really been a pleasure. I know Eric feels the same way. That we finally upgraded. Now we have Air Force and Navy here, duly represented. Although Eric, the Air Force wouldn't take me when I tried to. So that just goes to show you they have great taste. But But one of the things that we've done, you know, from a class perspective, is we've tried to get together. You know, I think our first big one was 20, and then we've tried to get together every, you know, 5 years or so. And I'd encourage all of you. You're here, so you clearly care. But trying to get your brothers together, get them on campus. Actually, a couple of people haven't shown up yet because they're waiting for us to have a reunion in Vegas. So wherever it is, right? Wherever it is, just try to get some of your classmates together, or some of the classmates around them. I think you'll find it really rewarding. Say again? Yeah.
Flights are cheaper in Vegas.
That's true, and I'm sure that's why they want to go there. You know, I joined the Navy when I was 18, less than a year after I left here, and after I retired, I'm still doing government service. So I was probably too dumb to realize I should get out, but it's really been a pleasure. I know Eric felt the same way, because you're constantly getting back from the people around you, just like you do here. So I really appreciate all of the support I've gotten over the years. My family's gotten the opportunity, I think, to relive some of the good times. We are going to tell more stories tonight, so they can corroborate the things that they hear when I may have had a couple more drinks than I should have. One of the things that I think is really important, and I'm gonna ask the alumni to bear with me here for a second. Very often, you know, you're involved with your school, maybe it's college, in our case, high school, and everybody wants to help that's currently at the school. And we get a lot of help from Church Farm School. It's easy to come back. I think that's a good way to put it. And that's because of what all the staff does, that you and everybody else, and have done for decades. So, but one of the things that there's occasionally somebody that goes out of their way to make sure it is easy and that you can bring, you know, your classmates here. So completely informally, we, the alumni, would like to recognize one of those people. It sort of started with class of 81, and then Peter at 64, and then, you know, I had 7,500 emails from alumni. And we really wanted to recognize Lori. Lori, again, I think all of you would say thank you.
I don't even know what to say. I am just so touched by your generosity. And, you know, I feel very fortunate that I feel like my mom did when she worked here. She was here for 36 years. And I would remember when she would come home from work and she would always say, she never felt like she was going to a job. This was her family. And after my dad had passed away, you know, her big joke was like, oh, I'm gonna retire next year, I'm gonna retire next year. And everybody kept saying, yeah, right. But she she wanted to retire, and then she was like, no. She said after he was gone, she said, this is my family, and I need this family to keep me together. And like I said, I just feel as though this is like the best job, the best career I've ever had, and I know, you know, I think Steve knows how much I love the job too, because, you know, sometimes I have some long hours and things like that, or I'll be on, you know, my phone, you know, texting somebody back or emailing or whatever, but it's so worth it to me, and I am just, like I said, so blown away by your generosity and your thoughtfulness. And, you know,
Well
yeah,
deserved.
well, thank you.
Thank you.
Here. you guys thought I was done. Yeah. So some of that, I think many of you can appreciate this. She has been alongside the tennis courts with us at 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to protect you, Ned. trying to make sure that we didn't go too far off the range. But you know, it's that Lori's, we think, an all-star representative of really the rest of the staff is the same way, right? You go out of your way to make sure the kids can be successful. Hopefully make, as Priscilla said, a bunch of great, you know, partners in the future. And we really appreciate it. And it is easy to come back. So I appreciate all my family trekking up here through 5-6 hours of traffic, and the rest of you for joining us tonight. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you to all award winners. Lori, thank you as always. You hold us together and are the core of what makes this happen. And thank you, everyone who supported tonight. I appreciate your attendance, and I wish you all well. Take care. Thank you.